What is happening? My name is Beth and welcome back to Every Day is Spooktober. Now, we have this series continuing on this channel. If you haven't been keeping up, please do. Here is my review of VHS Viral, another year, another VHS film. This one came out in 2014 and was very different compared to the previous two VHS films. And all I have to say is I'm deeply disappointed, I guess you would say. Yeah, this wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be or what it seemed like. Well, let's just talk about it. Let's talk about it and review VHS Viral. Now, obviously the premise of this film is in the title and it's viral. You know, this film came out when like the internet was sort of in its prime time of just being really popular. You know, YouTube started to be a thing and just live streaming and things like that really started to come into play in the real world. So I can understand that this was a really good film to make for the time period and for what was going on. However, it definitely does have that like 2000 vibe where like the internet was very new and we were seeing all these brand new things with phones and what they can do and what they can stream and whatever. This one was very different from the last two. You know, nobody likes change, which is like it's just a general thing. Human beings don't like change. And this one was just completely different. Number one, number two, VHS, they followed the same pattern. They had the same structure of story. This one was so much different. And for me, it didn't work. And this wasn't a good film. This was not a good film. And I think this film could be taken out of this franchise because it's not, I just don't think it really adds anything or does anything for it. Obviously, like, there was some interesting stories, which I will break down in just a second for you, but, like, at the same time, like, I don't know, like, even if the stories are strong, if the sort of baseline structure, you know, of the entire film isn't there, then it's not going to be a good film. So in terms of the stories, we obviously go with Dante the Great, which is the first one. At first, I was very confused because this was filmed in a documentary setup where people were being interviewed and talking about this guy who's a magician and, you know, puts on shows and he's rich and he has this magical cape and he can do really crazy, weird tricks. At first, it like completely threw me off guard. I was like, whoa, this is way different already from what we've been watching. But I kind of liked that they were doing something a bit different with it. I liked that they were setting it up as a documentary, sort of explaining the story of Dante and his cape and everything that happened with it. Although I did think it was like kind of cliche of an ending. Obviously, you know, with the cape, it like eats people to sort of gain its power. Which I thought was a bit silly. I mean, I know these stories are like, take it with a grain of salt, like it is a bit of a shit show, but yeah, I was just a bit like watching the story, I was like, okay, like this is kind of dumb. And then we obviously find out that one of Dante's assistants finds out that this cape has these powers and like the things that he's been doing with the cape obviously aren't right. And she ends up fighting back and using the cape to kill Dante himself. And then we see, like, at the end with the cape, we have the assistant, she decides to burn it to get rid of it because she knows it's just no good. And then what happens? The cape comes back and then ends up killing, well, we don't see her die, but taking her away and essentially dying, I guess. It's like Ouija board or a haunted object. You don't freaking destroy it because it's not going to work. It's just going to make it more, it's going to provoke it and make it more angry. I thought that was cliche. I thought the ideas were like very basic and just a bit silly. So the way we started off this film, like in terms of the stories, I was a bit like, eh. And then the second one, we have Parallel Monsters. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a good sort of futuristic, you know, dystopian type of film or world, but this one was so weird. Obviously we have the guy who creates this like kind of time machine thing, and he like it ends up working. He like switches lives with himself into like a different universe. Two versions of him like go and explore like different worlds. And the sort of parallel world to his is really weird. It's like some satanic cult thing that they live with every day. Everyone's got a little something going on downstairs. Weird creatures attached to their downstairs area. Yeah, again, this one was very weird, as they sort of all are, but like this was very like eerie slash uncomfortable. Like I definitely felt on edge when watching it, because I was like, I don't know what's happening here because everything's so weird. I think it definitely set up like an interesting environment, and it definitely again was giving me like Black Mirror vibes, with just sort of like the dystopian worlds, and you know, sort of being able to see like the same world but slightly different. I think that was quite a fun aspect of it. You know, obviously at the end of the story, you know, the husband from the original world, ends up coming back, and his wife ends up killing him because his parallel self came in and tried to eat her with his thing. Yeah, obviously if you've seen it, you know, and yeah, it's pretty weird one. Then number 3, Bone Storm. This one was just so dumb. What I don't understand what motive was behind Bone Storm. Like it, don't get me wrong, I think the whole sort of setup when we have like the cult coming in, and they're like on that little like skate park thing filming these like teenage boys, I think it was like an interesting concept, because I thought it was going to go very differently. It wasn't going to turn into a massacre with teenage boys hitting these guys over the head with their skateboards and filming the entire thing, and it turning into like a bloodbath. And also, how the hell did they get away? I don't quite like, they managed to fight them off so well. I was like, well, that's not realistic, that's just kind of dumb. They have no idea what they're doing. They've just turned into like serial killers out of nowhere. I think when the boys are like killing some of these members, when they sort of die and then they come back and they're like skeletons, I thought that was a really cool effect. I did really like that part of it. Like visually it just looked really sick. But I just, yeah, this one was like, I don't really understand the motive of the story, and I think there could have been like, this could have been something else driving the story. Like, I wish we had some more insight of this sort of cult slash group satanic thing, because we didn't see too much, and I'm like, I don't care about these kids with the skateboards. Like, we see that on a daily. Like, I want to see what's going on with this like cult group member thing. But yeah, I didn't particularly like Bone Storm. I thought it was a bit like, it was very long and dragged out, and I was like, by the end I was just not interested in what was going on anymore, because there wasn't much detail or much going on apart from just sort of like a massacre, which, I mean, come on, we've seen it thousands of times in films. And then obviously that was it. Normally the VHS films, they have 4 VHS films, and then they have a baseline story that's sort of connected in each way. There was only 3 VHS tapes on this one, and I don't really know why, because it definitely could have done with a stronger story, and that there just wasn't one in there. Obviously the baseline story, it's called Vicious Circles, and this is just basically about the whole like things going viral. So like in the second one we explored the fact that when that couple break into that college guy's house, we find out that if you watch the tapes in a certain order, like, you die, or like you get possessed or something. Obviously just something really bad happens, and that was sort of what they were doing, but they were trying to make it relevant by connecting it with like the internet and live streaming and mobile phones. So they were like streaming these tapes in that order, so it would start like killing people, giving people bloody noses. Everyone's going insane because of it. The story's like pretty, not even mid. Like, they tried, but like, it's not a very strong story. It's not super engaging. You know, like, it definitely was like giving me sort of like Nerve vibes. I don't, if you've seen Nerve before, obviously that's very internet technology based, but that one was more fun, rather than this one's meant to be quite like, it's meant to be life or death. I don't know. I just think that every story lacked, and it wasn't engaging. It wasn't really that scary. It was a little bit boring, and this is a massive letdown. I was really, really disappointed with this 3rd VHS film. You know, I'm hoping for the others to be a bit better, but yeah, I didn't really enjoy this film. And I rated it 3 out of 10 on IMDb, which is a lot less than I've rated the other 2 films, which is really, really weird and upsetting to see, like, how it's just dropped so low. But yeah, unfortunately, it just wasn't a great one, and I think everyone was sort of in agreement on that online with the ratings and things like that. I think there just could have been more substance to the story, and I think the sort of backstory as well wasn't a big reveal at the end. It was very just sort of like cliche, predictable, you like nothing special that we've never seen. So yeah, that was my review on VHS Viral. I am sorry this wasn't a great review. I'm still going to continue the series. I'm in fact in the middle of watching VHS 94 right now, and this one I have little sneak peek for the next video, but it is a lot better than this one for sure. It's coming back to its original roots, and I'm happy with it. So yeah, the next one's looking good. Thank you guys for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe and like if you enjoyed this video. And yeah, I will see you for the next VHS film.